Chapter 2. The Call of the Horizon. The package sat on Richard's desk, a weathered box that seemed out of place amidst the sleek modernity of his office. He stared at it, a strange mix of curiosity and apprehension swirling within him. He knew it contained something from his grandfather, Rangi Wilder, the man he barely knew, the man whose life had been a world away from his own. He hesitated, a part of him wanting to push it aside, to bury it under the weight of his daily responsibilities, the endless meetings, the demanding clients, the carefully constructed image he had to maintain. But another part of him, a quiet voice he had long ignored, urged him to open it, to explore the mystery it held, to connect with the past he had dismissed for so long. With a deep breath, Richard reached for the box. He lifted the lid, revealing a tattered journal, its pages yellowed with age, nestled beside a small, intricately carved wooden compass. He picked up the journal, its worn leather cover smooth beneath his fingertips. He opened it, the scent of salt and sea air wafting from its pages, a stark contrast to the sterile atmosphere of his office. The first page bore a single inscription, written in a strong flowing hand. To my grandson, Richard. May you always find your horizon. Remember, it's not in the skyline. With love, Rangi Wilder. Richard's heart skipped a beat. The words resonated with a depth he hadn't expected. He thought of his grandfather, the man he had dismissed as a relic of the past, the man whose life had been so different from his own. He realized that he had never truly known Rangi, had never taken the time to understand him, to connect with him. He thought of the sailboat he had watched from his office window, the lone figure on the vast ocean, a symbol of freedom and a connection to something larger than himself. He turned the page, beginning to read. The journal was a chronicle of Rangi's life, a testament to his deep connection with the sea. He wrote of his childhood on a remote island, his early days learning to navigate by the stars, his adventures sailing the vast ocean, his encounters with different cultures, his respect for the natural world. He wrote of the storms he had weathered, the challenges he had overcome, the wisdom he had gained. Richard was drawn into Rangi's world, a world so different from his own, yet strangely familiar. He felt a connection to his grandfather, a kinship he had never known. He read of Rangi's deep love for the sea, his understanding of its rhythms, his respect for its power. He saw a reflection of himself in Rangi's words, a yearning for something more, something beyond the confines of the city, beyond the pursuit of wealth and status. Rangi's words spoke of a profound respect for the environment, a responsibility to act as stewards of the land and sea, not as conquerors. He wrote about the importance of community, of honoring traditions passed down through generations, of finding strength and resilience in shared experiences. He emphasized the power of forgiveness, both in giving and receiving it, the ability to let go of anger and resentment, to embrace compassion and understanding, to heal wounds and mend broken connections. He spoke of service, of dedicating one's life to something larger than oneself, of finding fulfillment in helping others and contributing to the greater good. Rangi's words were infused with a deep love for his fellow man. He wrote about the importance of faith, not necessarily in a religious sense, but a faith in the unseen forces that guide and support us, a faith in the resilience of the human spirit. He spoke of hope, the unwavering belief in a brighter future, even in the face of adversity. He shared stories of his own struggles, his own moments of doubt and despair, and how he had found solace and strength in these core values. He also emphasized the importance of gratitude, of appreciating the blessings in one's life, both big and small, of finding joy in the simple things. Rangi also wrote about his mentor, a wise elder named Runga Rawa, who had taught him these invaluable lessons. Runga Rawa, according to Rangi, was a spiritual guide, a keeper of ancient wisdom, a man who understood the deep connection between humanity and the cosmos. He had taught Rangi about the importance of finding one's horizon, not just in a physical sense, but in a spiritual and emotional sense as well. He had shown Rangi that the true horizon lies not in the pursuit of worldly success, but in the depths of our own hearts, in the connections we forge with others, and in the legacy we leave behind. Runga Rawa, Rangi wrote, taught me that the horizon is not just a destination, but a journey. It's the path we walk, the choices we make, the impact we have on the world. And he believed that Runga Rawa, in his wisdom and compassion, carries us all towards our horizon, guiding us, supporting us, and reminding us of our true potential. He spent the next few days in a haze, going through the motions of his work, but his heart wasn't in it. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was living a lie, that he was on the wrong path. He found himself staring out the window, watching the sailboats in the harbor, longing for the freedom they represented. One evening, he found himself drawn to the waterfront. He walked along the docks, the smell of salt and sea air filling his lungs, the sound of the waves lapping against the pier a soothing balm to his troubled soul. He watched the boats come and go, their sails billowing in the wind, their masts pointing towards the open sea. He felt a pull, a yearning to be a part of that world, to escape the confines of the city and embark on a journey of his own. He sat on a bench, gazing out at the horizon, the city lights blurring in the distance. He thought of his grandfather, Rangi Wilder, the man he had never truly known, the man whose life had been so different from his own. He realized that Rangi had found something he had been searching for his entire life, a sense of belonging, a connection to something larger than himself, a life of meaning and purpose. Richard knew he couldn't stay in the city any longer. He had to leave, to follow the call of the horizon, to seek his own truth. He had to honor the legacy of his grandfather and find his own place in the world. With a newfound clarity, he left the waterfront and returned to his apartment. He couldn't face the sterile environment of his office any longer. He needed the comfort of his own space, the familiarity of his belongings, as he prepared to say goodbye to them. He reached for the phone, his fingers no longer trembling. He had made his decision, and now he had to face the consequences. He dialed Mr. Sterling's number. Mr. Sterling, he said. When the billionaire answered, "I'm calling to inform you of my decision regarding the skyscraper project." "Ah, Mr. Wilder," Sterling's voice boomed through the phone. "I trust you've had time to consider." "Actually, Mr. Sterling," Richard said, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands, "I'm withdrawing from the project." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then Sterling sighed, a sound that conveyed a surprising weariness. "I understand, Mr. Wilder. Though your designs were impressive, I sensed a hesitation in you. Perhaps this isn't the right path for you after all." Richard was taken aback. "You sensed that?" "Yes," Sterling said. "Sometimes ambition isn't enough. Sometimes we need to listen to a different kind of calling." Richard felt a surge of gratitude, a sense of understanding he hadn't expected. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling," he said sincerely. "Don't thank me, Mr. Wilder," Sterling replied. "Perhaps this change of heart is for the best. Follow your instincts, wherever they may lead you." Richard hung up the phone, a sense of relief washing over him. He had faced his past, acknowledged his changing values, and taken a step towards his new future. He then called Kieran, his young apprentice. "Kieran," he said, When the young man answered, "I wanted to apologize for my behavior the other day. I dismissed your ideas, your idealism, and I regret that." Kieran was surprised. "Mr. Wilder, No, Kieran," Richard interrupted. "I was wrong. Your passion, your vision, it's inspiring. Don't let anyone, not even me, discourage you from pursuing your dreams." "But sir," Kieran stammered, "you're the one who taught me that pragmatism is essential, that compromise is inevitable." "I know, Kieran," Richard said, his voice heavy with regret, "and I was wrong. I was perpetuating a system that stifles creativity and crushes the human spirit. Don't let that happen to you. Hold on to your idealism, your passion. That's where true innovation lies." Kieran was silent for a moment, then said, his voice filled with emotion, "Thank you, Mr. Wilder. That means a lot." "You're welcome, Kieran," Richard replied, "and please, call me Richard." He hung up, a smile tugging at his lips. He had made amends, acknowledged the value of idealism, and encouraged the next generation to pursue their dreams. He had planted a seed of hope, a small act of rebellion against the cynicism that had consumed him for so long. Now, the hardest part remained, facing his parents. He knew they wouldn't understand his decision to leave the city, to abandon the life they had envisioned for him. He could picture their disappointment, their disapproval, their attempts to dissuade him. He wasn't ready for that confrontation, not yet. He needed time to gather his strength, to solidify his resolve. He sat down at his desk, a wave of emotions washing over him. Gratitude for their love and support, guilt for disappointing them, and a newfound determination to live a life that honored his true self. He picked up a pen and began to write, pouring his heart onto the page. "Dear Mom and Dad, I'm writing to tell you that I'm leaving the city. I know this might come as a shock, but I've come to realize that this isn't the life I want anymore. I've been chasing success, chasing your approval, for so long that I've lost sight of who I am and what truly matters. I've inherited something from Grandpa Rangi, something that has opened my eyes to a different way of life, a life of meaning and purpose. I'm going to follow his path, to seek my own horizon. I don't know where this journey will lead me, but I know I have to do this. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I love you both. But I need to do this for myself. I need to find my own way. With love, Richard." As Richard rose from the kitchen table, the note to his parents lying starkly on its surface, he felt a pang of guilt for the pain he knew his decision would cause them. He could picture their faces as they read his words, their confusion, their disappointment, their worry. He had always been the dutiful son, the achiever, the one who made them proud. Now, he was breaking that mold, shattering their expectations, and venturing into a world they couldn't understand. But there was also a sense of relief, a lightness that came with releasing the burden of those expectations. He had spent his life trying to please them, to live up to their ideals, but in doing so, he had neglected his own needs, his own desires. He had been living a life that wasn't truly his own, a life that had left him feeling empty and unfulfilled. He glanced around the apartment, the familiar objects now imbued with a sense of detachment. The designer furniture, the abstract art, the expensive gadgets. They were just things, material possessions that no longer held any value for him. He would sell them, sheathe the trappings of his old life, and embrace the simplicity and freedom of the journey ahead. He walked towards the bedroom, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. He would pack a small bag, taking only the essentials, Rangi's journal, the compass, a few changes of clothes, and the hope that bloomed in his heart. He was leaving behind a life of comfort and security, But he was also leaving behind a life of emptiness and disillusionment. He was stepping into the unknown, guided by the whispers of the sea and the legacy of his grandfather. He was Richard Wilder, a man on a quest, a man determined to find his own horizon.